should know who is coming up next. He's one of our key speakers. It was my pleasure to interview him on Facebook. Hopefully you saw that. We're still trying to put the pieces of our Facebook page back together, so hopefully we'll have that interview back up again soon so you can see it in its entirety. But it gives me great pleasure to introduce the next 8th District Congressman from Michigan, Paul Junge.
Well, thank you, and thanks everyone for coming out today. It's really gratifying to see so many people that know that elections have consequences. And that's kind of the theme I thought I would talk about, take the opportunity to talk a little bit about, is that elections absolutely have consequences. And there are examples of that just up and down the ballot through the years. And I want to talk just briefly about some of those. But before I get into that, I do absolutely want to thank my friend Alan Hoover. Thank you, Alan, for your kind words. I want to thank, I'm a little bit humbled for sure to be following the speakers we've already had. There's been so many inspiring comments, just words to live by, and that will keep us motivated for the next 24 days, because we are 24 days away from an election. And as I said, elections have consequences. And we don't have to go very far to see consequences of elections. When this coronavirus came at us, why did we have Governor Gretchen Whitmer? Oh my God, what consequences we suffered because of that. Yeah. We thankfully had a state Supreme Court that stood up and said, no, you are violating the Constitution, you can't do this. And so one example of elections having consequences, I'm going to urge you on a number of different things on the ballot, but one that might surprise you, they're nonpartisan positions for the state Supreme Court. There are 2 candidates, Swartzel and Kelly, Brock Swartzel and Mary Kelly, that are on the ballot. It is important that we elect those 2 justices to the Michigan State Supreme Court, because otherwise we might not have gotten a decision like we did, stopping the unconstitutional actions of our current governor. We have also absolutely, of course, we must re-elect President Donald J. Trump. Amen. We have been talking over and over about, and politicians do this, I'm a first-time politician. I guess I have to fess up to that title since I'm running for office now. Every election cycle, since we talk about this is the most important election ever, and certainly in 2016, if we had gotten Hillary Clinton, you know, the just perfidy of the FBI and the coup that has gone on ever since that election, that would have all just been covered up and silently put away. And on so many other issues, we would have just seen our liberties already being further eroded if that election had not led to the election of Donald J. Trump. But we know that it's going to reverse and go in just completely the wrong direction unless, in fact, we re-elect our president, which is so important to do in just 24 days. I also reflect on the kind of the motivating force of this entire organization, that we defend the Second Amendment. And not just the Second Amendment, but all of our constitutional rights and all of our constitutional liberties. And we know that would absolutely be threatened. And we know that not just because of things that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris say and do, but because we see what Democrats do when they take control. I don't need to remind this audience, in the state of Virginia or the Commonwealth of Virginia, you get Democratic control, you get a Democratic governor, and they come for your guns. They have no respect for life. So that it's just a terrible example of elections have consequences. And what would be some of the consequences if, heaven forbid, we don't re-elect Donald J. Trump? We know because Joe Biden says, well, hey, I'll have Beto O'Rourke advise me on Second Amendment policy. And we know what that means. He's coming for our guns. We know that beyond a shadow of a doubt. Elections have consequences. We cannot let Joe Biden win. What about some of their other things? Look at what's happening right now. We have the passing of a Supreme Court justice, and Donald Trump does exactly what a president is supposed to constitutionally do: nominate a new justice to the Supreme Court. That's a right and responsibility of a president. And one of the earlier speakers, I think it was Bob Zott, saying, you know, this fantasy that Kamala Harris talks about, that Abraham Lincoln somehow didn't fulfill that duty, that's complete BS. Of course, President Lincoln, as soon as the Senate was back in town, I think I heard someone saying earlier, it's like, hey, with the Senate not in session back in 1864, it's not like senators from around the country could take a flight into Washington, D.C. and reconvene. That just wasn't possible. So the president is doing exactly what he's supposed to do and nominating someone, and starting on Monday, the U.S. Senate will begin to consider that nomination, and they've said they have every plan to take a vote on that nominee. What do the Democrats say they're going to do? They're going to pack the court. That is outrageous. And once again, Joe Biden is telling us, without telling us, that that's exactly what he's going to do, because you all probably remember he used to chair the Senate Judiciary Committee, and he's on tape saying that packing the court is a terrible idea, something that should never have been pursued by FDR, should never be pursued again. But when he's asked today about it, what does Joe Biden say? Oh, I can't talk about that, then that'll be all you talk about. It's like, come on, Joe, you're not that sick in the head. You know that that's exactly what elected officials or candidates are supposed to do. You're supposed to talk about, just as President Trump did, he gave us a list, said these are the people that I would consider nominating to the federal courts, and then he stuck to that promise, and as he stuck to all of his promises. I think that's part of why the swamp hates him. He told us what he was going to do, and then he went and did it, whereas Joe Biden wants to hide that. This district, Ingham County, Livingston County, North Oakland County, Michigan's 8th district, has been proudly represented by Republicans for 18 years. Last election cycle, Alyssa Slotkin took it from us, and we've got to take it back. And just like the deceptions that I've been talking about with Joe Biden, Alyssa Slotkin was making the same kind of deceptions. She promised the people of this district that she would not pursue impeachment. That was never true. Back in September, she was one of the instigators by sending a letter to the Washington Post saying, let's open up a new impeachment investigation. And then the House, after what, 10 or 11 weeks of careful consideration, gets right to 2 articles of impeachment, and Alyssa Slotkin voted for both of them. She will not do, she absolutely will not do what she said she'd do. What else did she say? She said, I'm not sure I can support Nancy Pelosi. BS. 96% of the time she's voting with Nancy Pelosi. I mean, we've had a couple debates now, and I am occasionally tempted to say, you know, Congresswoman, what would you do about this? Or Congresswoman, what would you do about that? But the answer isn't worth the breath that she would expound, push out to give that answer. She can't be trusted. She's not who she said she is. And elections have consequences. Because we, the voters here in the 8th District, let her slip in. And I'm sure that there was vigilance amongst this group. But we have to work hard and make sure that we don't let her get away with it again. And there are reasons that help her. I mean, last time, almost $30 million was spent on this campaign for this congressional seat. That's a record for the state of Michigan. And I think it's in the top 3 or 4 nationwide ever. And we all can remember that Democratic presidential nominee who said on a presidential debate stage that he, Michael Bloomberg, had spent $100 million so that they could make the House of Representatives Democratic. $2.3 million of that came to help Alyssa Slotkin win. Now she's raised millions of dollars again, but it takes an awful lot of money to sell a lie a second time, and I think we won't let her get away with it. So I want to thank all of you again for giving me the opportunity to come here and speak to you, and I want to let you know, I stand with you, and I stand for you. I will absolutely protect and defend your constitutional rights, including your Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. I will. There are no provisions and let me address very specifically one that's come up before, red flag laws. There will be no sneaky or explicit, implicit, nothing will get by me as your member of the House of Representatives that would infringe not only your Second Amendment rights, but your rights to due process and all of it. I will defend and protect all of your constitutional rights. And I guess I wasn't going to particularly mention this, but when Bob Bazat talked about as sheriff, and I think also when he served in our military, that he took an oath. I used to be a prosecutor myself when I worked with police. And so, another little aside, this whole democratic notion of defunding the police is absolutely insane and must be stopped. But But when I was a prosecutor and I worked with police, and when I served in the Trump administration at U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service, in both of those jobs, I took an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. It's an oath I take seriously, and it's absolutely, when I take my oath as a member of Congress representing you, I'll take that seriously as well. So 24 days we have to go. It is very important that we re-elect Donald J. Trump. It's very important that we defeat Alyssa Slotkin. It's very important that we get out and we encourage all of our friends, all of our family to get out and vote. If you have to do it by absentee, I would encourage you, even though it's 24 days, I think I would get your ballot in, take it into your local clerk. But those of you that can, I'm going to go in and vote on election day. We should absolutely exercise our constitutional right. And please know, I will listen to you, I will work for you, and I will defend your rights, your freedoms, your liberties. This is an important election. I'm asking for your support. God bless you, and thank you for being here today.